I do believe the president's intentions may be well found, but I don't think they go quite far enough. The fact of the matter is, he says in the language, this is to incentivize police departments or police officials to do right. I do believe we have to fight off the institution that's constructed, the culture that's there. And so there are a lot of things we've got to do. We got to demilitarize policing in this country. For some reason, we are now turning over armaments, armed vehicles to local police departments. They've got no use for that. It only enhances this culture that's eating away at policing in this country. We've got to do something about these inhuman methods that are being used, chokeholds, a knee to the neck. None of that is in the police training, but it's developed in the police culture.
Well, Congressman, let me follow up on that, because you said we got to demilitarize the police. That's different than saying defund the police. What do you say to folks and Republicans and independents, and as well as Democrats, who are on board with racial equality, but they get very wary and they have safety concerns when they hear things like defund the police?
I say that that is a term that is a good soundbite. It may make a few people feel good, but it doesn't do anything to make any headway. Sound bites will get you a lot of headlines, but they don't make much headway. So I do believe we got to demilitarize, we got to restructure, we got to reform. People get a little frightened when you start talking about defunding police. So let's not play their game. Let's not give anybody any cover. And that's all Trump is looking for, cover. He keeps talking about this issue using that word or something similar. That's not what they're talking about. The problem is when you got to explain what you mean, you're losing the argument.
In terms of reinvestment, which is something that has also come up, reinvestment on underserved communities, you are the chairman of the Select Subcommittee on the Coronavirus Crisis, and you sent a letter to top banking CEOs of Wells Fargo, Citi, PNC, and also to Secretary Mnuchin. Are you concerned, sir, that the PPP loans are going to big businesses and not to Main Street?
Yes, I am. And it's not just a concern. I think a lot of them admitted it, that when they first got the money, they favored their longtime customers. Many of them looked to see whether or not the ability to repay was there. I know banking. I spent 14 years on predecessor banks to what is now Bank of America. So I know how banks operate. I was on the audit committee of the bank. I chaired the reinvestment committee of the bank. So I know how this goes. So I sent this out because we got complaints from people that they were not being able to get business loans for their Main Street facilities. And so that's why when we did the second tranche for CARES, we mandated that money had to go to these community financial institutions, community development financial institutions, to credit unions, people who deal with small businesses on a very small basis to help keep them alive. So I just want to make sure that the people who got the money were deserving and be transparent about it. Make sure it's efficient.